today would be what we would jump into on our third new topic, the 5 tenets here with the tribe, which we have over there as well. Harmony, bliss, faith, resolution, and freedom were the 5 concepts that sort of spun around in my brain when all this was starting to come together a couple of years ago. Informed a lot by the Masonic lodges, but then a ton by the conversations that we were having on podcasts. Just all the different people I was talking to, and then just seeing those common threads just wanted me to explore that further and then just have conversations with people. Started out with harmony because it was sort of that idea that if you don't have harmony within yourself, it's going to be dang hard to have it anywhere else. So we looked at different groups, what they said, what they thought, to sort of build off of that, which led to bliss. And in that concept, sort of a nice stepping stone to that. And then I feel like if you've got like a spoke and you got one in the center, it's faith, but faith is so different to every person in every group. So that's really the basis of it, is to try to get a definition of what it means, how it can be applied, so on and so forth, and then be able to look at it from different lenses in that kind of aspect. So I really just threw together a couple of questions. And as far as the questions go, there's no real order to them. Just anything in that side or anything that might make you think of anything related to that could work as well. So, what is faith? Why does it matter? Again, we'll look at these from different aspects here. How do people demonstrate faith? How does faith inform lifestyle or choices? Is faith still important in the modern tech-driven era? Faith can be lost in sight, science versus religion. That's a nice little topic there, or anything to look at from there. And other thoughts on faith. So, again, it doesn't have to be what everybody considers faith, because we come at it from different viewpoints. So, the 6 questions that are up there, the one that I like, one of the ones the most, is the science versus religion, so hold on to that for a bit. But on my way over here, I was thinking about how people demonstrate faith. And I was thinking about my background in martial arts, but in Thai boxing, because it was very ritualistic. So we had our ritual dance and prayer that we did beforehand, which we would call a sort of faith, I would assume, because we were asking for protection from our deity. It didn't matter if it was Christian or not or whatever. Coming from that Thai background, my instructors were Buddhists, etc., so on and so forth. So it was more about a call for protection for you and your opponent. It was a call to honor your coaches in that kind of an aspect. And I played football too, and we had the rally, get them going kind of thing. This was nothing like that. So to me, it felt more like something that was more spiritual, like I would attune to faith, because also another definition of faith is trust. You trust those people to get you ready. They're not going to have you fight in the ring if you're not ready, so on and so forth. So this comes any different ways, all different kind of angles.
I think the questions are good. Of course, science versus religion is always a great debate. I think, is faith still important in the modern tech-driven era? Oh man, if I had to say, it's probably more important now than ever, because we're easily distracted. I think with faith comes a lot of discipline, and then our ability to manage our tech. It's interesting that we have so much tech, we have all this tech that's supposed to, how I look at it, is supposed to do 2 things. Is 1, save us time, and 2, bring us more connected. And all I experience is that we have less time and we're more disconnected. Less connected, less time. So I think having faith is very important in this time.
And how would, with your background specifically, how would you define, I mean, I have such a hard time just defining faith in general.
Oh, yeah, it's tough, you know. Like, you know, in my background, faith is probably understood differently than I think in a lot of systems of belief. You know, and one thing like that we lean into is we don't believe in blind faith for no apparent reason, right? So it's interesting that you brought up trust, because I think over time, I believe over time faith cultivates trust. And of course you can give trust, but it also cultivates trust in your system of belief to yield the result that you want. Right? And what is faith? It's hard to say, right? You can say like, oh, okay, I believe in this system, right? But I would say that's just more blind faith, belief with no reason. But I think faith is a decision and a commitment that is based on like practice and experience. Right? And when you have certain experience, you have certain practice, you receive certain benefit, or you yield certain benefit, and then you have faith in that system, right? And then you can practice a little more, engage a little more, pray more, meditate more, however you want to describe it, and then you can build faith.
So when he was talking about trust, I was thinking about you, Josh, and you, Barry, but Josh in particular, because you've gone all the way through, et cetera, with the lodge. So when you first came through and we did all that horrible stuff to you, you're told to trust us, but did it feel on a level of faith? Is that a possible definition? You see how we're talking about it in that room?
Yeah, a little bit, I suppose. It's hard to know what to expect, but I knew that after spending a little time with you guys, all the guys that were involved with this thing that I was interested in were the kind of people that I wanted to be around and be like. So I didn't figure it could be too bad if it was leading me that direction.
And I'll throw that out to both of you. Is there anything that you've read in your stuff yet that's made you question your trust or faith in what you're going through with the lodge, et cetera?
I have not seen any red flags or anything like that that would make me doubt.
So it could be like a development too from a completely secular side. Because that's the experience, that's what I equated to in martial arts, and that spot. It's the same for me when I'm coaching these guys in the lodge as it is when I was teaching people in the fighting as well. You know, you have to, that trust, that level. So I guess it could be a synonym, but whenever you start a conversation about faith, then it becomes a thing about dogma, or it becomes a thing about, you know, this church or this, they said this, or I believe this or that, when acknowledging that it's much more than just that one, you know. It is such a big topic. That was like one of the main reasons I really didn't want to jump into, you know, what this culture thinks or what this psychologist says about faith, without having a little bit of spitballing beforehand. So.
Yeah, it's hard for me to think of a good definition of faith just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Well, I think it can be challenging to seek a definition of faith that doesn't have like a religious overtone or a spiritual overtone or a lot of dogma attached to it. I think development is a very good word, because even in Aikido, It's not the kind of martial art where it's based in power or damage. So to effectively do Aikido, you have to work on your development, and then you can have faith that it works. You know.
So developing the skills.
Yeah, I think it's a few things. I mean, it's a
Okay.
technical skill, but it's also a mental skill.
So development could lead to trust, leading to faith, or because like I'm saying, trust and faith sort of synonyms.
Yeah,
maybe
I would
developing
agree with that.
Those
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah, because at some point you develop your skills enough, you can trust that it works.
Mhm.
Or probably a better way to say it is that you can trust that it has the potential of working when you need it to work. I can't say that it will work.
So you hope it will work.
Well, I was going to bring up hope.
Hope is different.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up hope.
What were you going to say about hope? Because I don't want to see what you were going to say about hope. Because that's another.
Well, I just think when we discuss faith, hope is always a part of that. And then, do I think they're the same? No, but I think they move together well. They move in tandem, right? Because sometimes whatever faith we adhere to, we hope that the outcome is what we want, right? But I think, I really believe that hope and faith are two different things,
Yeah.
right? But
And also, like at times, not even so much directly on college applications, but when they ask for your belief, your system, or it'll be or creed or faith, and then that is a different definition when they want it for something like that. I think. What were you thinking, hope-wise, Barry?
I think you gotta have hope. If you trust that you're doing the right thing.
And for us too, faith, hope, and charity is like the underpinning of Freemasonry. Those terms together.
Right?
But when I put that up there, I did that on purpose. I don't know if I won't get in trouble because they won't watch it anyways, but I think that's coded. But we always say charity is most important because faith can be lost in sight. So you can easily lose your faith once you see the evidence, like the science versus religion kind of thing. And then hope ends, as we say, in fruition. When you're done, it's gone. At least whatever you've put that hope. Once you're moved on to wherever you've moved on to, that's gone. So in that hierarchy, it almost has like, it doesn't have the weight that faith has for, I think, millions of people around the world. And I mean, just some of the places that you've gone overseas and seen, I mean, you're seeing expressions of faith way different than probably what we're seeing out here at times too. And just some of the people you've met.
just because culturally it's a whole different thing. Right, in in Nepal, I mean, historically Nepal is very Buddhist, but currently it's very Hindu, right? So, though there is very different, expressions and understandings of faith, I still think the core attribute of faith is present, right? Like whatever you have faith in, right? Whether it's like Christianity or Catholicism or Buddhism or Hindu or anything along those lines, there's a quality of faith there. So yeah, I mean, I think externally a lot of things are different. I don't necessarily know if the discussion is really about what we have faith in as opposed to faith itself.
Yes.
So yeah, of course, very different, but that's outward expression. Right, and then I see other, like I spent a lot of time in Malaysia, not a lot of time, but I did spend about a month over there. And, interestingly enough, Malaysia is very Muslim, and Muslims have a lot of faith. It's really quite beautiful, but it's very different. than what we're used to seeing and experiencing. So I think if you cling to outer expression, there can be a lot of issues. I think if you see the beauty of faith, then it's not so, it doesn't matter so much. That's one of the things I really loved about Indonesia. They didn't really have any concern at all. They basically wanted to know what your faith was, so they just knew how to act appropriately. But
Right.
regardless of what it was, yeah, they didn't. They're like, okay, so now I can honor it this way or that way or this way. Yeah, it meant like nothing.
Yeah.
So I think that is really cool, really neat.
It's sort of like the idea, it's just like, it doesn't matter. They know you've got something. So they're just
Yeah.
gonna honor that. And that's not our Western, our Western way in a lot of instances. So,
Yeah, I keep. I don't know if you guys are like Indiana Jones fans.
oh,
Yeah, it's hard not to be.
of course.
Yeah, but the last movie's interesting. Like, it was okay. It wasn't great, but when I was a kid, things were much greater in a different way. But towards the end, Indiana Jones made a reference. He said, sometimes it's not what you believe, but how much you believe it. Right? And that's what I think, there's a quality of faith there, because it's your the level at which you believe in something does a lot.
Yeah.
Not what you believe in, but how much you believe in
Yeah.
is a deep quality of faith.
Yeah. And that's sort of, sort of the underpinnings that see as these threads in different cultures and different stuff like that. Why it seems to be that key piece, right? And not that people who don't have faith, because I don't know that there isn't, I don't know that people can say they don't have faith, even if they're not
Well,
religious. They
That's an
still,
interesting point. Yeah.
well, you have faith and no faith, right? So you believe in not believing, which is a kind of believing,
right?
right? Yeah, I don't think you can not have faith.
Yeah.
People say I don't believe in anything, but that means you believe in believing in not anything.
Yep.
That's a belief system. So you can't get out of that. I don't think it's important to necessarily discuss that. I think what's important is that you cannot not have faith in some capacity. And not believing in faith is a belief system, and you have faith in that. It's a weird paradox.
It is.
Yeah, you have faith that there is no faith. It's like, why even bring it up?
Yeah. Even if you believe it's you 100% doing it, 100% in charge of your own life, 100% in charge of your own body, then that's your belief system.
Yeah.
So it's got to be, whether it's conscious or not, evolves into that. Again, the definition is just so wide, and getting away from, is it just about, organizations or those different kind of things, because we are very tainted on, in Western society as far as that goes. And the need, it feels like at times too, it's like if you're not a part of that, you're sort of on the periphery in those kind of spaces, So I'm still stuck on something that's almost nonsensical, but I gotta say now before I forget it. So for the Indiana Jones, you were referencing the third movie, not the fourth movie, right? Not Crystal Skulls. You were talking about the
Yeah, just the most recent.
okay.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
not counted in that. Okay. So
Yeah, just
the
because.
true movies, the ones, the early ones.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I know. It's like, you just make a bunch of others. Those aren't true Indiana movies. My brain when it catches on too. So I saw the other day, and this goes somewhere within maybe other thoughts or something. I was driving down the road, and there's a new bank that's opened up in Meridian off of Fairview, and on their billboard, it says faith-based banking. Is there Northern Christian Church or something like that?
Interesting.
And yeah, it just struck me as, what is faith-based banking? Is there like a stock market
Yeah.
profile?
We
You know?
should ask.
Or is that just a catchphrase to try to
Right.
catch their people?
Members of that group, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know, I was just sort of driving, it made me wonder, and I was like, well, and I thought that the stuff I read, I thought that Jesus was sort of against tax guys and bankers and all that too, so I was sort of like,
I think it's probably more of a cultural thing that
yeah,
people feel comfortable speaking openly or, referencing,
Mm.
this kind of thing
mm,
in a banking institution. I mean, it's an interesting angle.
yeah,
And, yeah, it has merit, it can work,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's any of those conversations, and I've come across it just in multiple different ways. In the lodge, is a lot. You get people who come and don't come back because they thought it was faith-based, or they thought it was a means. Literally, this one guy said, a way of salvation. I'm like, no. Not in the slightest, kind of a thing. And in martial arts too, I mean, I think we've talked about this, and I know that I've talked with our friend Brian about it, but what you guys do with Aikido and what I did and stuff like that is so hard in this area as opposed to like the East and the West Coast, where everybody's just a little bit more open to stuff. Because there's different pieces to it that make it feel maybe foreign or something like that, but like in Thai boxing, the traditional music and the dance and the prayer and stuff like that, very off-putting to people who are very always been one way kind of a thing. Not that it works for them, but the opportunity that they could be missing out on is the thing that always gets to me, because you get to learn so much more from different people.
Yeah, there was a lot of that in Aikido, trying to run a school, in Idaho. Though I did very well for quite some time, but not, I didn't have hundreds of students.
Yeah.
But yeah, people were turned away. They don't want to bow, or they don't, simple things,
Yeah.
Yeah, and just kind of the concept of Aikido is can be challenging for some people.
Mhm.
So, yeah, what can you do?
Well, it's very ritualistic. Also, Thai boxing is extremely ritualistic, and of course, Freemasonry is very ritualistic. But church is a ritual, so that's why I don't get people's when they freak out on different kind of things. They'll go to their church and do things the same way repeatedly. That's a ritual, and that's what they've built their structure to do. So I don't know. I think it just gets to when it's a little bit too foreign or too much out of the
Too
comfort
different.
zone.
Different ritual
Yeah,
has different meaning.
yeah,
So people have trouble with that.
yeah. And that too, then on the other side, I want to sort of tell people, well, that could be a test of your faith. If you can be there and you can join in with these people and still keep solid to your original core beliefs,
Sure.
then, that should show you something there yourself too.
Well, I've always believed that. I think people get very insecure about certain things. I've definitely dealt with a bit of that being Buddhist. And I think people become insecure. I've had just a lot of just negative interactions. But really, I think if people are secure in their faith, they're comfortable with other people's faith, right? Because I trust, so I'm not I'm comfortable with other people's faith. Whatever you want to believe in is fine with me. You know, I don't. There's no like negative input about it, but I can understand why things are like that.
Do you see here? Because how long did you weren't born here?
I grew up in Indiana,
Okay.
born and
But you
raised.
were here for how long have you been here? What is the area?
25, 28 years, 29 years,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that time, have you seen a bigger commingling of people like coming to the Dharma Center when it was there, et cetera, and keeping their own religion as well, or was it?
No, I don't really see that
Don't
that
see that.
much. Yeah, I see a lot of people coming to check it out, or there's usually a lot of like external study, right? So like religious students would show up, or people in their church would go learn things. You know, like there'd be some kind of assignment to go like learn other faiths or dip in that kind of thing, which I think is great. But to actually be engaging in two separate faiths, I don't experience that very much.
Yeah.
I think it's more common in China.
I was gonna say it's more of a, again, other side of the ocean, right?
I think that's my experience. You know, I mean, maybe in a different city, but I don't. You know,
Yeah. Eventually, commercials always come in somewhere. Can't account for that. Gosh, what was I gonna say? There was something else within one of those questions, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's just such a nebulous topic that I just wanted to have a little conversation, took down some notes, you know, as I start to formulate out and start to dig deeper into different groups, and you know, and I don't know if it's more to find out why they believe what they believe, or what they believe, or how it just helps them, or again, my main thing is how it's a commonality. We have this stuff in common, so, you know, stick with that and move forward in life. Don't get bogged down with, I say this and you say that. You know, you believe this and I believe that. Hey, we both believe, so, you know, I know it can't be that simple. all the time.
well, you know, I mean, I've experienced other cultures having it that simple. I don't think I think it's difficult here, but I think faith is beautiful. Like, and of course, like in the deeper aspect of like religions or whatever, however you want to describe that whole area, right? Because you can have faith in your football team, you can have faith in like a musical instrument, you can have faith in your job, right? These kind of things. But I don't think we're necessarily talking about, I think there's a little more hope when it comes to your favorite sports team, right? You hope they're going to win, but like, yeah, I'm always amazed at how religious people are about non-religious activities, right? Like fan base. Like I think people should act like that at church, you know, have that much fervor about going to church and getting ready and showing up early, right? It's a quality of faith.
Could have a barbecue set up outside,
Well,
tailgate.
Just the excitement to engage,
Right.
right? To be a part of that, you know. But I just, you know, when I see people that have faith and they're very devoted and they venerate and they're very, they have a lot of, they're pious, you know, that I'm just moved by that, right? I think it's so beautiful. Faith is amazing, right? I am a fan of faith. So if you have faith, I think that's great, you know, yeah. There's a girl in my martial arts school, she's probably going to go to a nunnery soon. I think she struggles a little bit with Aikido, you know, certain aspects of it, but, and then she knows I'm Buddhist, so I don't cross over a lot, but sometimes, like, she's Roman Catholic, so there's a lot of saints there, and she has a couple saints that she really likes. And when she starts talking about that, she just glows and shines, and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the quality of faith.
Mhm.
Yeah, one of the qualities of faith. So
Yeah, gets people out of their shell when they talk about their interests
oh yeah,
too, in those aspects. And yeah, I mean, but you're right. It's like out here, we have the cult of the Broncos and the bluegrass. You know, we got you know, exactly right. It just picture tailgating in the church parking lot, kind of a thing. That'd be a way different story. It may get people to go. You never know.
Might have a larger group.
You never know. It's like, once a month potluck. They could do.
pre-game tailgate.
Yes.
Pre-game service or something. You know.
Exactly. That'd be awesome. And so when Alejandro was talking there, Josh, I was sort of thinking just some of the conversations we've had back and forth and stuff like that, and with your family, et cetera, extended family, parents, grandparents, et cetera, and stuff like that. A lot of time in this area, or in Idaho in general, or
Some of my extended family, yeah, like my aunt that lives close to here has been here my whole life, and we've come to visit regularly my whole life.
yeah.
We came to the dentist here because it was almost the same to drive here versus somewhere else in Central Nevada with a good dentist. So anyway, they've been here a long time. Yeah.
Pretty strong in the roots on that side, and
Yep.
and yeah, so you've been going back and forth and stuff like that, and just sort of again, like Alejandro was saying about just over the time and over the span, and now, of course, you're doing something different with the lodge, but have you seen like a difference maybe in the area or the people you talk with, or things like that, or what do you think in our general Meridian Boise-ish area? As far as any of this, or what we're talking about there in general. So
And I don't know if I particularly have noticed a huge change in that aspect. I mean, in the area in general, yes, of course.
yeah,
Even since, visiting regularly but infrequently somewhat, yeah, there's been a huge change in obviously the amount of people, the infrastructure, everything around here, housing. But I don't know that I've been, especially when I was a kid, too attuned to the whole faith aspect of
Right, yeah,
culture
yeah.
and everything around here.
but it comes, I think, with the mix of people coming from
Mhm.
all over the different states that they're coming to flood in here and bring different pieces and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it seems like there's a maybe more of an openness, or more of, like you said, these outside influences, and so maybe ideas are growing, and people are getting exposure to things they haven't had exposure to, or haven't had much exposure to. But there seems to be some element of the culture here that has stuck around still.
Yeah.
Kind of like Alejandro was talking about, almost this more not always open necessarily to outside influences. Seems to be kind of part of the community in a way. That's just my
Yeah, definitely.
experience.
Yeah, definitely at times. And basically the same thing. So Barry, like, you get opportunities with a lot of different stuff with your job, and then your weekend job with your wife and stuff like that, being two completely different kind of things. So you're meeting people like from the building business side, but then you're meeting people with the wineries and stuff, and what kind of general feel are you getting the last couple of years? Is there a prevailing kind of a person, or not even a belief or a faith or anything, but are you seeing like more input and different people trying different things, or?
I don't know. I don't think that discussions about faith come up very often.
Yeah, no, and it was just where I was spitballing, because like, you know, your opportunities to be around different people, because there are two different things you got going on. You
But
know?
I think for the most part, people are kind of on the same track. I mean, they act the same, believe the same things. So I don't know that there's a real variance.
Mhm.
And I think certain things are tolerated more, but I don't know that that's a good thing.
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of negative things out there that people tolerate is not right. And so if maybe people had stronger faith, they would have belief in their conviction and not tolerate things that should not be tolerated. I mean, people
Mhm.
might preach tolerance, but at some point, certain things really shouldn't be tolerated. So maybe, people had a little bit more faith. They were more comfortable in it. They could express that. They wouldn't feel threatened by outside influences because they know they're on the right path. And I don't know. I think if people had stronger faith, then it might be better.
Yeah. Well, I spent 20 years basically in the classroom, and you know, just seeing a de-evolution
I can imagine.
education and ideas and beliefs, morals, whatever you want to call it, you know, ties in with that modern tech-driven era kind of a thought. You know, not having external input. You're in a classroom with high schoolers all friggin' day long. You know, you start to get a pretty bleak thought on what's going on in our world, where it's going, and you gotta remember, oh, this is just a itty bitty microcosm. You know, this one little school in this part of Idaho on the whole planet. It ain't the whole thing, and then you just sort of recalibrate yourself. You know, but and which is probably why, you know, Lodge was like super important for me in that aspect, to get out and be with different people and to work on things, and you know, use it as an avenue, a driver of faith, that you know, that we're doing good things in the community and that we're doing that stuff, you know, as opposed to, like I said, being bogged down with whatever that is. So yeah, it's interesting and all that. I just think, you know, getting to be able, meeting people, you know, whether it's they need something from you at the job or you need something from them or something, or so on and so forth, and having those conversations. And, so yeah, Barry's he's with a building company, and then helps his wife sometimes on the weekends with wine tours.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm like. To me, that's like,
Yeah, some spectrum.
yeah, you got
yeah.
differences of things going on, a lot of variety, you know.
Yeah, you're gonna meet people that you would never meet.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah,
Never.
yeah, I
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah, just have those good conversations, right?
Mhm.
Ready? Anything else that just sort of spitballs around, or again, not looking for anything major, just a couple of notes I'm gonna pop into some of my stuff moving forward, and you know, just wanted to get some thoughts beyond my own on any of this kind of stuff.
Well, something I've been thinking about recently is you know, like what Barry was saying, and then also Alejandro talked about. I think it's maybe not possible to have, say, a lack of faith. I think you have something informing your decisions and actions, and so it's important to see what you hold valuable and where that's taking you, because you might not think of it in terms of, okay, I'm following this, like the sports team, like okay, that my sports team is my faith or religion or something like that. But it can be very similar. And so I think it's important to be aware of the things that we're giving priority to and that we're letting shape our decisions and actions in daily life, no matter what that looks like. You know, it could be a huge spectrum and different faiths and belief systems and everything, but I think almost everyone has some system that they're operating on a daily basis. I've just been thinking about that in my daily life and how that's important to think about where that's taking.
Good way to tie all three and those together there.